Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we're going to talk about the top Dokkan LRs in the game for SBR. So very similar to my list that I did for the SBR TURs, we're going to basically look at the best LRs. Again, not really going to be putting any unit below B category because all units are pretty good. And yeah, we're just going to start from the top. Obviously, things that we're going to look at is versatility, so how good are the units in certain events, how versatile are they, how many events can you use them in, and then of course what utility do they bring, do they do AoE attacks, do they do stunning, do they do sealing, etc. So yeah, all pretty solid. We're going to start obviously at the top row, and then we're just going to kind of go through it. Some units I'll give a longer explanation, some I won't. Just depends basically on what I think the unit needs. So we've got Aglr Gohan here. I'm going to put him into the S tier after his EZA. He's pretty versatile on quite a few categories, Super Saiyan 2, Hybrid Saiyans, etc., Android Cell Saga, but his defense is still not tremendous, and you still pretty much need dupes in him to make him feel pretty good. So it's he's pretty alright. I think he's in a good spot here in kind of the mid section. Then we have LR Broly. He's a Z tier after his EZA for SBR. 100%, he's an absolute beast, does huge damage, his defense great after super, and because of his conditionals he's great in pretty much every stage he's in. He's on quite a few stages as well, Resurrected Warriors, Movie Bosses, Full Power, Pure Saiyans, so he's on quite a few stages, pretty solid. Majin Vegeta I'm also going to put into the S plus tier. He's like, if Broly's the standard for Z, then Majin Vegeta will be S plus, basically. He's pretty solid, and he's just absolutely like great with his AoE damage, but he isn't as reliable as, say, Broly, like, to be honest. Then we have Goku, Black, and Zamasu, B tier. They just don't have as much going on for them anymore, so they do lack a little bit compared to all the other units. Then we have the physical LR Trunks, obviously Z plus tier because he's a Trunks unit, but overall in terms of his performance, probably put him in the S tier. He's very similar to Gohan in this area. He does great damage, his defense can stack up quite quickly, but he is again another unit that does require a bit of dupes, to be honest with you. Then we have the Goten and Trunks unit, pretty solid overall, great damage output now, and their defense is really good after super. Their link set does leave them a little bit to be desired, but I actually find that, you know, they are pretty decent. The reason they're not going to be an S plus tier is because they have very limited categories and their link set's pretty weak overall. Bojack will be an A tier. He is definitely a step above Goku Black and Zamasu, but he does lack a little bit to make him kind of comparable to the LRs above him. His link set is decent but a bit weak overall, and he's on very limited categories, but when you get him just right with Strength Bojack, he's pretty damn solid. Then we have the Super Saiyan 3 Goku, very similar. Link set's pretty good, his kit's pretty interesting, he's quite decent defensively still, especially if you have dupes in him, and he can stun as well, and he's pretty great because obviously Super Saiyan 3 does need all the help it can get, so yeah, we're gonna stick him here. The Year 3 LRs, they're gonna be S tier. They have diminished in ability a little bit, but overall they are very solid. Great output offensively and very solid defensively still, especially with dupes in them, and they're on a lot of categories: Joint Forces, you know, Majin Buu Saga, Fusion, Patara, Pure Saiyan, just a whole bunch of categories. So great leader skills as well. I think even now they're in S tier. I think they're definitely a step above Bojack and Super Saiyan 3 Goku. And yeah, Beerus and Whis just B tier, basically. Agl Bardock, S tier, even after his EZA. Just a unit that's so great, but so limited. Fantastic unit, just horrendously limited. Trunks and Mai are similar, except they're kind of a step below. So they're going to sit in A tier. Exceptional on Time Travelers category. And that's really it. Just exceptional on Time Travelers category. Then we have the SS4s. Honestly speaking, with dupes, still more than fine. Very serviceable units that are honestly incredibly strong. And that I think do a lot of great work. They just lack basically a little bit more oomph. Their active skills are still great though. They're going to help you on a ton of stages, so they're still great. Cell, after his EZA, is basically on par with Vegeta. I would say pretty much around that level. Very strong, very good now. Link set's great, just not on a lot of SBR. I think if he was on a bit more SBR, I'd probably say he's up there, but he's just not on a lot. Then we have Largo Freezer. Probably going to put them into the S plus tier or the Z tier. I think overall they can go Z tier. They are pretty strong. They do a lot of great damage, and they are so good overall. They're just very solid, I think. You know, so for me, I think they deserve a Z tier. I'm gonna put them there. They're on a decent amount of categories, and they are really strong. Their leader skills very powerful. Frieza, he's gonna be probably A tier. His link set saves him a lot, and his diversity in categories, but his defense lacks a lot nowadays. Although with his links and with dupes, you can kind of get away with him. Incel, S plus. A lot of people will think, oh my god, how can you do that? Incel is still very good, especially in SBR where he's facing multiple enemies. So yeah, just super duper solid overall. Then we have the GT trio. They're gonna be put into the A section. Overall, very strong unit. Yeah, very similar to how they're better than these two in their raw output, but they're just not on any categories. Gobros, gonna put them into the S tier. Incredibly versatile unit. Defense is still lacking, but just super duper versatile. Great offense as well. Only key kind of prevents them from being really top notch. Baby, we're gonna put into the B tier. He's great on giant form, but that's really about it. Just doesn't really have a home to kind of like be, so I think that's what affects him the most. Then we have Kale and Khalifa. Honestly, they're kind of stuck between these two categories here. I think overall they are really solid, and they could be on either, but I'm tempted to put them here just because of sheer amounts of categories and the Strength of Universe 6 team. But I think for the sake of I think they deserve to go here. I still think their versatility is incredible, and I think they just bring so much to the table. Then we get the Agl Goku, who is just fantastic because his dodge mechanic can work, and for me that's just exceptional. And I think he's really solid overall. Not too much to say about him. Damage output is crazy, and dodge makes him super duper strong defensively. Spirit Bomb Goku, A tier. Both of the Year 5 fusions. Probably going to put into the A tier as well. If not a little bit S tier. If you use them as just floaters, they are more in the S tier category. Whereas if you use them as main units, say A, even possibly B tier, they just take a very long time to build up, but in the third slot they do have 50% evasion, so all of a sudden they become a lot more usable. I'm going to split the difference and stick them in the A tier, because I think overall that's a pretty solid place to be. Then we have the Blue Boys. Great offensive unit. Defense is pretty solid after a super. They do crave dupes a little bit, and they are kind of centric to join forces in Universal Survival Saga, but overall they are really solid. Then we have the Aglr Gohan. Very good unit, gonna stick him into the A tier. Very diverse unit. Does take a little bit too long to build up defensive stacks now for some of the later stages, but overall is pretty solid, and I really like him. Similarly, we're gonna stick the movie Gohan there as well, just because very similar in that he does great offense, lacks a little bit of defense now, but he's a bit more limited. But he's still a lot of fun to use, and I think he's great for movie heroes, Super Saiyan 2, Hybrid Saiyans. Tons of great stages that he can be on. Jiren will be a S tier unit, just super restrictive as a unit, which prevents him from being up here. Probably very solid, great unit that does awesome stuff, but just super duper limited. The God Goku is going to be here in A tier. Actually, he's an S tier unit, definitely for sure. His 50% evasion and 50% crit chance still hold him up to date now, and with dupes he will survive attacks, just not great, basically. Then we've got these two units here. Nothing wrong with them in theory, they're just so limited, it's scary. Like, you can use these guys I think in 2 stages. Same with these guys, 2 stages, and without dupes they're just not worth running, so they're a little bit of a letdown from that perspective. Tapion and Minotia are an S plus unit, 100%. Absolute beasts, absolutely disgusting when it comes to any form of content that they can play. Very similar to the Goku and Piccolo. Also super duper S tier, Z tier unit, sorry. Absolute beasts, really awesome, and I just think they do so much. Physical Janemba is an S plus. He nullifies key attacks, which is great, but he's just not super duper strong on categories. Great unit, just can't be on a lot of categories, and his link set's a little bit weak, which prevents him from being here. Like, if he was on more categories, he'd be here. These guys aren't on a lot of categories, but they're just so strong, like right out the gate, because of the fact that they have key built into their passive. So overall they are a lot better just than Janemba, but arguably very similar. In fact, the same reasons these guys could be here is the same reason this guy could be here. I just find that because they are unconditional guard for the first 5 turns, they're better for SBR and ESBR than Janemba, whose first slot guard is obviously unconditional, but you know, just doesn't really hold them in the same stead. So yeah, then we get into some more interesting ones. Sogojita is an S plus alongside Vegeta. Both very similar units, super duper solid, really bring a lot to the table. Very fun to use, and yeah, just a great time really. Both do great, both have 30% damage reduction, both have useful transformations, both just bring a lot to the table, which I think is really awesome. Then we get into this Vegeta, so he's not as useful as Goku. Definitely a step below him. His damage reduction is, you know, decent, but it does reset every turn, which is a little bit of a shame. And he kind of punks out. Frieza, Z tier, 100%. Goku, Z tier as well. If you've used these guys, if you have dupes in these guys, you will understand that they are at this level. Frieza, especially, his raw output is insane, and Goku's raw output is also nuts, especially if you build them with crit. And both their active skills are top tier. So, great leader skills as well between the two of them. These two units, you need to really use them a lot to understand, but they have so much output, it's scary. Then we have the Broly, definitely a S tier unit. Terrible defensively, damage output is still absolutely disgustingly broken. Androids, A tier, very useful support, very solid. 16 active skills, really good still, but they are like a little bit behind on the times. Goku Black, A tier, not his fault at all, but his team is terrible. It's kind of why he's here. If he had a great pairing partner, I would probably put him here into S tier because of his sheer output. But yeah, but his team is bad. Like, you wouldn't use him on any stage simply because his team is bad. Goku is definitely an S plus tier, 100%. The evasion is just fantastic. He's super duper solid. Then we get Goku and Gohan, Z tier unit, very very strong, super duper powerful overall. Great offense, great defense, great everything. They just do so much. So really, really, really solid. Really, really, really solid. So yeah, good stuff. Vegeta, I'm gonna put into the S tier. Turles, S tier. Turles limitations or categories. Vegeta, just lacking a perfect pairing partner. Really, honestly, that he just kind of needs to help him really shine. We've got the Frieza and Android 17. We've got the Android 17 and Reps units, just both super limited units, so I don't feel like they deserve to go any higher, even though they can both be very good. I find the Frieza and 17 require more dupes than any other unit, so yeah, but overall still pretty solid. Then we have the Trunks and Gohan unit. Super solid, stick them into S+, on a lot of categories: Connected Hope, Battle of Wits, Future Saga, Joint Forces. Very, very solid, great damage reduction, great active skill, revival skill, all super duper great stuff. Goku and Hit, also gonna go SS tier, very, very solid overall, and yeah, just a super duper powerful unit. Goku and Piccolo, I know it seems weird that they're here, but they actually have less categories than them, and due to that, they just can be used a lot less. Like, they can only be used on joint forces currently. They are a great unit, but they just lack linking partners, and yeah, they need a bit more to kind of function. Similar to Krillin and Gohan, nothing wrong with the unit, they're fantastic, I love them, but they just lack a bit more. Goku and Vegeta, exceptional unit, again a unit you have to use if you want to rate them higher, but they are just fantastic. Finally, Super 17, gonna stick him into the S tier. Just really strong unit, but again, limited on categories intensely. And then finally we have Majin Buu, who I think is a S plus unit. Very limited on categories, but still so strong. Stacks his defense really, really quickly, and just, yeah, does a whole bunch of great output. So, yeah, that's every LR in the game currently on Global, not including free-to-play LRs. Very, very strong and super duper powerful. I think the list is quite accurate. I would, you can always shift units in between, but I like to, I think this is a good way. If I was building teams, this is where I would kind of start. This one is possibly very contentious along with this one. I think, arguably you could switch any of these ones up as well. But yeah, for me, I think this is a good space. And yeah, but thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!